Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about the red economy. This is my second talk on the red economy, a term that to me describes the darker side of global systems. Many people remain unaware of the deeper causes behind today's crises. Global powers obsessed with military dominance create endless conflict, while everyday people quietly suffer from inflation, economic mismanagement, and systemic corruption. The poorest nations to the wealthiest governments are too easily bought off by powerful interests. Poor leadership has set the stage for a world of financial chaos, where it's the public that always ends up paying the price. At the heart of this problem is the concept of military dominance, which is deeply tied to what I call the red economy. I come from a family with a history of military service. One relative in particular, whose life was deeply scarred by his experiences. He's a Vietnam veteran, a man who saw the worst of war, got caught in the lies of the system, and spent the rest of his life in a mental institution. This relative often speaks of what he calls the red economy. He defines it as a system where some make their living through violence or by taking lives as part of their job description. For him, the war he was part of, one built on false pretenses, led to a life of disillusionment and madness. He often repeats the same point. If a group, organization, or even a country causes harm, it must be stopped by any means necessary, even if that means using force. Well, I believe in self-defense, but he goes on. While I don't agree with his violent solutions, I respect his experience and I understand the frustration that comes from seeing a system that seems beyond the reach of justice. The idea of crypto assassination markets that he sometimes talks about, the concept of paying people to target the powerful who are unable to be touched by the law, feels extreme. That's one reason why he's in there, in the mental asylum. However, it's born out of an undeniable truth. The current system is so corrupt that many believe there's no other way to deal with the powerful except through drastic action. Personally, I doubt that crypto assassination markets will ever become a reality, even with the random bombing of the Venezuelan alleged narcos, or even coming from Mexico, where I think the largest cartels are part of allegedly the CIA. So I doubt that crypto assassination markets will ever become a reality. But the larger point remains, and it's a question I'll leave you with. When those in power cause harm, what are we willing to do about it? We must confront the truth that in the world we live in, money and power can make anyone untouchable. And in our case, it's fiat money. The key issue isn't whether we agree on the methods, but whether we're willing to reimagine a system where violence isn't the default solution. I don't believe in violence, but I wanted to share the story of my relative who talks about all sorts of bizarre stuff, because the true challenge before us is not how to outgun the powerful, but how to outsmart them and create a future where we all can thrive without resorting to the same cycles of destruction that have governed history. Here's some key principles. 1, we must have clarity of intent. This version highlights the root causes of the, quote, red economy, which is military dominance, corruption, and the feeling of powerlessness that breeds violent fantasies, fiat money, and disproportionate power around the world. 2, respectful framing. The dialogue with my relative is framed as an expression of frustration, in my opinion, not endorsement. The term crypto assassination markets, quote unquote, is acknowledged, but it's framed as an extreme reaction, not a solution. Reflection on the larger issue. Instead of jumping straight to, quote, what must be done, the talk poses the larger ethical question. How do we handle the imbalance of power in a world where the system is deeply flawed? 4, we all need to have a hopeful vision, in my opinion. This message concludes by shifting away from violence and towards smart, systemic change, suggesting there are other ways to disrupt the status quo without descending into the chaos of crypto assassination markets and violence. As for my final word, no one is perfect, and none of us are beyond redemption or understanding. We all have a part in this complex, broken world. Your voice matters because it challenges people to think about the systems that oppress, control, and destroy. However, always remember the goal isn't to replace one form of violence with another. The true power comes from the ability to speak the truth without becoming consumed by it and to build noble alternatives, even when the world seems lost. I encourage you to keep seeking higher wisdom, even when the world feels like it's falling apart. There's always more to understand, always something higher to aim for. Stay true to what feels noble and keep pushing for better answers, always. This is what I tell my relative all the time. I think that my message is imprinting in his mad brain, but I'm uncertain about it. Hopefully it is. Thank you for listening.